Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and it's Thursday, which means I'm joined by my co-host from Coburg, Ontario, Tamara Ugolini. Tamara, how's it going?
Well, it's been an interesting morning of sleuthing and internet digging. So, for anyone watching, stay tuned for my next or
Yikes.
upcoming report. I don't know if it'll be the next one because I still need to hone in on some details, but it has been a fruitful morning of research. What about you, Sheila?
Same. Same. It's order paper question dump day, which means I've done nothing but write and write and write since 5 a.m. And that means I'm happy to talk for an hour and stop writing. So I'll tell everybody what we're doing around here and how they can help us and get involved in the show because this isn't just a show where we talk at you, we want to talk to you. Now, if you are watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. The Liberals haven't destroyed it quite yet for us Canadians. If you want to get involved in the show and support the work that we do, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we're reading it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our best, time permitting. But Tamara and I are very busy today. And if I'm busy doing something, Tamara usually picks up the slack for me and my other duties. So right now the company is ground to a halt because we're both here. So we'll do our best not to go too long. If you're watching us on YouTube, same rules apply. Their paid chat is called a super chat, but there's also an option for you to leave a paid comment if you miss the live version of the show. That's called a super thanks. So those are the rules. Let's get into the show. It dropped yesterday, something we knew was coming. Why? Because when other progressive companies implement bad policies, the Liberals always say, us too. Why don't we do that? So this is something that unfolded in Australia late last year. The Liberals adopted this bad idea yesterday, and that is a minimum age of 16 for social media accounts. It's called the Safe Social Media Act, and it will require social media platforms and AI chatbots to do more to protect children. At least that's what the Liberals are saying. We can watch this announcement, and then I'll tell you what I think is really happening here.
Thanks to recent changes to the criminal code, to prosecute the harm once it's occurred, to sue people, but the damage is done. This is unacceptable. We're failing our children. Enough is enough. Our parents cannot face these challenges alone, and the safety of children can't be an afterthought. We need basic protection in place so every child in this country can be safe on platforms they use every day. This is why we are introducing the Safe Social Media Act. The Act will establish a minimum age of 16 to have a social media account. The Act will require social media platforms and AI chatbot services to do more to protect children and make their platforms safe by design. Social media and AI chat platforms will have a responsibility to protect children from harmful content, including content that promotes self-harm, sexual exploitation, violence, hatred, bullying, or the non-consensual sharing of intimate images. Social media services will have to remove within 24 hours content that sexually victimizes a child or shares intimate content without consent, including sexually explicit deepfakes. And AI chatbot services will be required to mitigate the risk of chatbot communicating harmful content that have clear protocols in place when a user expresses an intention to harm themselves or others. They too will have to be safe by design.
Okay, there's a couple of different things at play here. So sharing child abuse images. I'm going to do my best to keep us on YouTube as I talk about this. So I have to sort of dance around certain words. But sharing those images is already illegal.
Right.
And there will be a requirement to everybody to input their age, because how do they sort out the kids from the grown-ups? Well, that requires everybody to confirm their identity with social media platforms, which will ultimately, I believe, have to share that data with the feds. And so this is a way to figure out who we are under the pretense of figuring out who the kids are. And we already know what the government does with that sort of data. If you were someone who donated to the Freedom Convoy, you know what the government does with your personal data. They use it to harm you for political reasons. They don't need to do this. Parents can decide if their children are ready to use social media. There are all kinds of ways that parents, if they are willing, or care enough or engaged enough to monitor their children's social media usage. But this is them trying to do something about Tumblr Ridge without actually having to reflect upon the issue of trans violence. They want to blame ChatGPT. They want to blame social media. They've already grabbed the guns. That didn't quite work now, did it? So now we have to change lanes away from, well, perhaps it could be giving kids cross-sex hormones, SSRIs, and grooming them towards these sort of attitudes in the classroom. We can't talk about that. It's got to be Instagram and ChatGPT that are the real problems here.
Yeah, and not to mention that this actually isn't working in Australia.
Right,
At
there's
all.
that too.
Is like there's a very easy workarounds for all of this. You can just literally put in a different birthday. So this isn't working already. You can see that not working in Australia. So the Liberals once again are not only way behind the times of what other, quote unquote, progressive countries are doing, but they're also not following the facts in that those other countries that are doing these things, it's not actually working to curb any sort of online social media, like the toxic use of these various platforms and the ability to exploit children through them. This also, I like to see usually what Michael Geist is saying. He's University of Ottawa, I believe, law professor. And it really digs down into especially the censorship bills and, under the auspice of online harms that the government has repeatedly, like this isn't the first crack at it. They've repeatedly tried to do this. He notes here in one of his posts on X, and I'm sure he also has a more fulsome blog post on the topic, or maybe multiple. He says that Bill C-34, so this is the Safe Social Media Act, actually defers 50 key decisions within the bill. So which includes which social media services are covered and what counts as age verification. This is all to be overseen by a digital safety commission that doesn't exist. And so his most recent post, and I shared this in the chat. Yeah, you can see this here. This doesn't apply to any social media services at all. It actually just leaves almost everything for cabinet or a future to be perhaps developed or implemented digital safety commission to make the call on all of this stuff. So this is really just an exercise, once again, by the Liberals in futility. And even if it were going to have any sort of meaningful change or difference, under the auspice of keeping kids safe online, we can see in Australia that it doesn't work anyway. So what are they even doing here?
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're trying to parent our children. There are kids who are responsible at using social media at age 13, and there are kids who are irresponsible at 17. I think these decisions are best left within the family, but I think you're going to see certain platforms end up in this and other ones not. And again, I reiterate, sharing these images of children or AI generated stuff, that already is illegal. So why don't we keep those guys in jail for longer? Why don't we toughen up the penalties on that so that it actually acts as a deterrent instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and then taking these decisions away from families? And moreover, to your point about, like, we don't even know what platforms this will apply to. Mark Miller doesn't seem to think it should apply, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he hasn't even given this any thought about, and again, I'm just going to say it, even though you're not supposed to say it on YouTube, but pornography sites. He can't say which ones are going to be covered under Bill C-34. And we know that there have been some problems with ones like, and again, I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry if we get kicked off of YouTube or we get demonetized on YouTube in this video. Pornhub has been a real problem, sharing revenge sexual images, trafficked people, and child images, like minors. But he can't even say, yeah, we're definitely going to deal with those guys. So let's watch.
Do you want me to talk to you about my experience with porn sites? I'm not going to, I don't think I'll fall into that trap necessarily, but I think that it isn't, this isn't about, first and foremost, regulating the internet. There are certain sites that are pornographic where user content can be uploaded publicly, and it would be those that would be covered by the ambit of it. It isn't all porn sites, but principally the ones that fall into the category of social media, where users can interact and upload conduct that is then deemed offensive under the 7 broad categories that I enumerated or enumerated inside the Act. Do you want me to talk?
Yeah, they're not doing anything. This is just a way to control online content and censor people and get their data. This is not providing any sort of meaningful protections for children, especially, you have this next question here where he's also asked why they won't just outright ban AI chatbots for children under the age of 16, since that was what was used or utilized, especially in that Tumblr Ridge incident. And we know there are dozens of cases and more coming each day where AI chatbots have swayed people or influenced them to do things that, a real person who had a soul would be able to counsel them otherwise. So this is actually, AI chatbots are becoming a real problem, especially for those who are dealing with mental health afflictions. And Minister Miller just doesn't even seem to have that on his radar at all, according to this response.
My question is for Mr. Miller. Why not ban AI chatbots for children under 16, especially after what happened at Tumblr Ridge? Excellent question. 1, this bill has something new, which is to make sure that chatbots are safe by design. That's an important
It actually doesn't do that at all.
Piece of progress that we would not have been able to do had we introduced that bill in other places. We all saw what happened at Tumblr Ridge. We have to admit that chatbots are not as well studied as the harms created by online platforms.
No, please.
And they do
anyway,
not necessarily
these
have the
translators,
same
can we not get better translators in Parliament, please?
Right. It's hard to listen to as an Anglophone, but nobody cares about our rights. Chatbots are a reflection of the society writ large, right? Like, chatbots learn from what you tell them, but they also learn from other discussions happening around them. Chatbots are really a distilled version of the grander advice of the society. And so they just amplify it. It's like, taking mash and making whiskey by distilling it. That's what they're doing here. And so, yeah, you can go after the chatbots, but it still doesn't stop the fact that we are sexualizing kids, exposing them to stuff in the classroom that they shouldn't be, taking them on sexualized field trips, that people think it's perfectly fine to take them to a pride parade, have them change their gender behind their parents' backs, whatever. The chatbot takes that and absorbs all of that and then gives it to the child. So you can try to, try to fix chatbots. But chatbots are always going to be a reflection of society. And so we have other work to do, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're also user affirming. So if you do go
for
into
sure.
a conversation or begin engaging with a chatbot, and the chatbot is going to just tell you what it thinks you want to hear based on, as you said, pulling out all those other issues and societal woes. So the fact that we're just letting teenagers kind of run rampant with this stuff, I mean, by all intents and purposes, given this is the trajectory of where the Liberals are going, I think parents should obviously be monitoring and controlling and playing a larger role here. But sadly, a lot of parents aren't, and or they have no idea because they didn't use technology in a way that it is being utilized now. And so, but I don't think this is the solution to that. And again, I'll keep coming back. In Australia, it's not working. So I don't know how this is any different. Plus, I just want to say the Liberals, they claim to be holier than thou and they have the moral superiority, but we're still letting minors go into safe injection sites and be able to obtain drug paraphernalia under the guise of, safer supply and harm reduction. So I wanted to share this post from Dan Mazier, the Shadow Minister of Health. And I think he just pulls this direct quote from this op-ed from National Post, where it says, if the Liberals' proposed digital safety bill passes as written, Canada would enter a unique legal environment in which minors would be barred from accessing social media, but would still be able to inject illicit drugs at a government-run safe consumption site. Yes. That's the state of Canada in 2026.
Right. They're not allowed on Instagram if the Liberals get their way, but they can change their gender behind their parents' backs. The establishment will hide it from their parents, thus increasing their risk of suicidality. And they can get cross-sex hormones and start the medical transition after the social transition. That's all perfectly fine. And if you question it, you're a crazy person. Just ask the Liberals. But they won't be able to use Instagram. Make that make sense.
Yeah, and they can go to your local friendly neighborhood safe consumption site and get rectal insertion drug diluting kits. Like, do we really care about kids' health and their safety if this is what we're doing on one side and then banning them on social media the other? There's no cohesive approach in any of this. It is just absolute nonsense, but I guess to be expected from this Liberal government.
If you guys can hear some noise in the background, I'm not quite sure why somebody has decided to shampoo the rugs in the room beside me, but they are for some reason. Hopefully you guys can't hear that, but this is just working from home problems. Let's go into this TPS murder story, which is insane. Now, this is from the Toronto Star. A Toronto police officer is dead following an apparent exchange of gunfire during a raid at a high-rise building in North York, according to the U.S. ambassador to Canada. And this is related to a shooting that took place at
this morning.
Yeah. So they were executing a search warrant tied to a shooting that took place at the U.S. consulate earlier this year. We've got a video here from Myron Demkew. He is the embattled police chief of Toronto. Let's watch.
The investigation that led to the search warrant where Police Constable Mark Benizotto was tragically killed concerned a number of shootings, including a shooting at the United States Consulate on University Avenue. There were several search warrants executed this morning across the Toronto area. It is important to note that there is one outstanding suspect. He is identified as Zara Jabi, 19 years of age. And I would encourage Zara Jabi to turn himself in. We'll have more details for you when they become available.
Okay, so it sounds like there
Go
was multiple instances of criminality and shootings, and that's why they were executing the search warrant at various locations, including the one where this particular officer was shot this morning. That took place near Black Creek this morning. I think it was like 5:40 something this morning. And I didn't realize, I hadn't checked back, I didn't realize that the 43-year-old officer had succumbed to his injuries.
Yeah, so this original shooting at the consulate, I'm just going to drop it in the chat here for Olivia's sake. This original, oh, why didn't I put it in the right chat? This original shooting took place back in March. And at the time, and I don't know why it didn't get more attention at the time. I know we talked about it here. Police call the shooting at the U.S. consulate in Toronto a national security incident. They were seeking two suspects at the time. They fired multiple rounds at the consulate at about 4:30 in the morning. RCMP and Toronto police said officers were responding to reports that day that someone had shot at the building at around 5:30 in the morning. But it seems as though they were responding to something that happened about an hour earlier. It was a white Honda CRV that they knew that two male suspects were in, and they used a handgun, which the Liberals have banned for people like me who don't shoot up consulates and who lawfully obtained them. And so the RCMP at the time said it was a national security incident, but there was no indication of a greater threat to public safety at the time. And they also, at the time, increased police presence at the Israeli consulate along with the American consulate. And now, of course, we know that the alleged suspect involved went by the name of Zara Jabi, was, the suspect who shot at the officer and allegedly is involved in the killing of the officer is Zara Jabi, 19 years of age. I don't know much about this suspect, but I think there's a 50-50 chance he's not a Canadian citizen.
And at 19,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's just so alarming that this is the floodgates that were opened into this country.
Yeah.
If that is in fact the case, that this is not a naturalized Canadian. I
think there's a 50-50 chance. I bet there's a 50-50 chance that this person is not a Canadian citizen.
It's I have someone in the comments here under one of our posts. It's the brother of former NHL player Steve Pinizotto. Yeah, rest in peace. Officers, we have a U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra giving his condolences to the family. I mean, this officer was just executing his duties.
Doing his job.
A search warrant tied to the shooting at the U.S. consulate, as mentioned earlier this year.
A Toronto policeman was killed, I believe, overnight in an investigation that may be linked to the United States' initial reports. Our thoughts, our prayers are with the family of the police person who was killed. They are with the police community, law enforcement community in Toronto, in Ontario, and I think it just exemplifies, and it's example of the close cooperation that we have in law enforcement between the two countries, how we work together, and the risks involved in those types of activities. So our thoughts and prayers and sympathy to the people who we are all affected by this. And so, so let's remember them today as we move forward.
No, it quite likely weighs quite heavily on Pete Hoekstra, given that he is the ambassador and he was, he could have been the likely target of this. This means, though, that there is an armed suspect who allegedly shot a police officer on the loose in Toronto. And this is after the police told us back in March that there was no risk to the public.
Right.
Seems like there was.
The state of policing, I mean, obviously the job comes with an element of risk,
Sure.
but the fact that we are not tough on crime, the massive bail reform that has unleashed countless criminals back into the streets who end up just getting a slap on the wrist, if anything at all. The fact that we let in thousands of people into this country who are flagged as being inadmissible for criminality, and there's a separate box, serious criminality, public health threats, international human rights violations.
Yep.
Like, this should be a massive wake-up call across the country that whatever is happening, which is basically nothing, is obviously not working, and we need to correct course like years ago.
Yep. Canada is a dangerous place now, thanks to the Liberals. And as you beautifully laid out, a horrible situation there. There are things that could have been done and things that were done that made this place a far more dangerous country to live in. On that horrible note, let's hit an ad break. We've got an ad read also on the other side. Thanks.
You know, folks, in my many years of reporting for Rebel News, I've covered corrupt politicians, rogue bureaucrats, and even parking enforcement officers who'd rather take a nap than write some tickets. But I have to say, this is a first. Apparently, I'm now available as a gift. Rebel News has launched something we're calling shoutouts. Here's the idea. You pick your favorite Rebel News journalist, maybe that's yours truly, or maybe it's someone else, that's okay. I won't take it personally. You tell us who the message is for, what the occasion is, and any details that'll make it feel personal. A name, an inside joke, a few things we should know about them. The more info you give us, the better the video. We'll record a selfie-style video and deliver it straight to your inbox within 3 business days. Birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, retirements, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, you name it. Messages are available in 30, 60, and 90-second increments, starting at just $100. Need it fast? Add 24-hour rush delivery for an extra $50. And every dollar you spend goes directly toward supporting Rebel News and our independent journalism. No government bailouts here, no corporate strings, just Canadians helping Canadians to keep telling the truth. Give the gift no one saw coming. Visit rebelnews.com/shoutouts. That's rebelnews.com/shoutouts to make your request today. I will be waiting.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's BYRNA.ca/rebel.
All right, and I'll just read this quick script from Rumble Wallet as well. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all of that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be set up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us at Rebel News directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And there was a few super chats as well. Yeah. We had one here from the Sasquatch Chronicles, gives $4.99. Thank you. Ronald Reagan, most terrifying words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Yeah, that's the textbook liberals. Yeah. That's words that they seem to live by. And it brings my mind to the Statistics Canada agent who showed up at my door recently trying to get me to complete their census form or inquire as to why I hadn't. I'm going to have a report on that one too, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, it really gave me, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you complete your census vibes. We'll see what we have more to say on that topic in a couple days. JP Alberta First gives $20. Thank you very much. Every time I hear a liberal speak, I see a whole brand new subject, issue, opportunity that they either know nothing about, get completely wrong, or have missed.
Yeah, they are going to try to ban kids from the internet, and then somehow they're going to ban us from being able to like use your debit card at the grocery store or something. Like they're going to go so far in one direction, they're going to forget what they even intended to do and just screw everything up. Remember, a perfect example of this is how they thought, oh, we're going to shake down Meta. We're going to get some money for the news companies from Meta. So they, tried to get Meta to pay every time a user shared a link on their own Facebook page, which is actually a free service that they provide to the news producers. It's like being the paper boy. Instead, Meta said, yeah, we're not paying your shakedown. We're just not letting you put news now on your Facebook page if you're a Canadian. So whatever they're going to do here, they're going to drastically screw it up in ways we can't even see yet. That's what's going to happen. We've got a couple of chats that I couldn't get to yesterday. I'm just going to get those out of the way. Snowy Roof gives us $5. David Alberto will never be, this is David Knightleg, our guest from the show yesterday. We'll never be able to be equal in Canada until the voting system is changed, which will never happen. David is an optimist. I agree with him on like 99.5% of things, except the solution. Real Dawn 1969 gives us $50. I have serious regrets about not getting to this yesterday, but he says, look, who's back again? It's Dawn. Well, hello. Thank you. Welcome back. All right, let's get into this Somali drama because this seems crazy. And I guess no one is going to change their minds even after the shooting of a TPS officer killed on duty while trying to execute a national security incident related search warrant. Yet still, the people in Toronto including Olivia Chow, they're outraged that FIFA ref from Somalia who tried to enter the United States via Turkey was denied entry after an 11-hour, let's say interview. I was going to say interrogation. Let's just say interview, because the Americans believe he has ties to terrorism. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but such is the rights of the Americans. And if their consulate is being shot up in Toronto, and then a cop is being killed because of that, perhaps the mayor could shut her fat yap and just be quiet. But she has said that this Somali referee that she really knows nothing about, except that he's from Somalia and he's a FIFA I was going to say refugee, but referee. She doesn't know anything about him. She doesn't know what the Americans know. But she said that he would be welcome in Toronto, which, I mean, given what's happening in Toronto on a weekly basis, he would just fit right in. Tamara?
Do we have, sorry, I was waiting for, I thought we had a clip of Chow herself saying, because I'm looking at this quote here and I was really hoping that we had her saying it, but in a statement released on Tuesday, she said that denying entry to Omar Artan,
yeah,
who has earned his place on the world stage through hard work and perseverance, is not right. I mean, I wonder if she even has any sort of merits to back up that claim, like if she knows anything about this individual, what kind of hard work and perseverance is needed to be undertaken to become a referee. I don't know. But if he was deemed unadmissible to the United States, and again, we can just go to look at the latest 2025 annual report to Parliament on immigration, we acquiesce a lot to people who are inadmissible elsewhere and should also be inadmissible to this country. And we, for whatever reason, rubber stamp them and let them into our country. I'm actually just going to share the link because I think showing this on screen is the most compelling way to really drive the point home. And
this really shouldn't surprise anybody. Somalia is on the list of approximately 40 countries that are subject to extra scrutiny upon entry into the United States. And part of that is because Somalia is a completely failed state. Like, they really don't have a functional government where you have a court system or like background checks or anything like that. You can just say, like, I'm so-and-so, give me a passport, and they will. You just go somewhere with it. And so the Americans have recognized this. And he's not the only guy denied entry to the United States related to FIFA. I think there were some Iraqi athletes, I believe, that were denied entry to the United States, and some people from somewhere else. So, like, they're not singling him out because he's from Somalia. They're singling him out because they know something Olivia Chow doesn't know. And I feel like that's something that could be said to Olivia Chow about a lot of issues and a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah. And again, just to drive home, I shared the link to this document. It's a 57-page document, but on page 36 in particular, if we could just pull up page 36, it's a table of temporary resident permits and extensions issued. This is 2024 numbers by grounds of inadmissibility. And there is security. So we didn't actually let anybody in who was a security threat, I guess. They just probably came in other ways. Human or international rights violations, there was 0 of those, but there's 980 permits in 2024 for serious criminality, which includes being convicted of an offense. Just regular criminality, not serious, but just regular criminality, another 1,300 and change of those. Organized criminality, there was 0. But then we go to financial reasons. So they're going to be dependent on our system. Misrepresentation. So that's kind of also criminality because you're fraudulently representing yourself. So misrepresentation, 100 people. And then non-compliance with act, which I would say is also kind of criminality and misrepresentation. 3,000 of those we let in. Inadmissible family members, we let in 10 of those. And there's just this other provisions category. There used to be also the health grounds. I missed that one. So they're a danger to public health or public safety, and we let 5 of those in. And that's just in 1 year. And that's just specifically temporary resident permits. There's, the refugees, there's those that come illegally,
Students.
just walk across the border, international students, part of the international mobility program. So the list goes on and on. This is just a subsect of a larger problem, but just to really show people how many we let into this country who have been flagged for not only criminality, but also serious criminality. And in other reports that I've done, there have been human rights violators and bigger numbers for the health grounds and organized crime, et cetera. So
Right.
when we see crime proliferating on the streets and you see the US saying, you know what, this person seems like they could be a risk, so we're not going to let them into our country. And Canada and Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow's like, this is horrible. We're open arms. You have to stop and scratch your head and say, what's really going on here?
Right. We've got David Eby saying that it's a heartbreaking story that this FIFA ref can't get into the United States. And again, I want to reiterate, he has no clue what the Americans know about this guy. 0. But he's making these claims anyway, I guess, to own the Americans.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a heartbreaking story about this referee from Somalia, a refugee, a guy who gets a visa from the United States. He has his background prodded and poked, and he gets the sign off from the US to come to the country, and then he shows up and he's turned away at the border and told that he is not eligible to fulfill a life stream and an amazing thing for a refugee young man to be able to do, to referee at a World Cup in North America. What an exciting and amazing thing. I can tell you this, in British Columbia, he would be welcomed and celebrated for his accomplishments. Would be thrilled to have him refereeing games here. The president was very clear in his opinion about Somali refugees. He called them garbage. Well, let me tell you that someone who overcomes the incredible hardships and persecutions of an individual like this should be upheld. And in British Columbia would be considered gold, not garbage.
Again, he has no idea what the Americans know, what they found out in between the time that they issued the entry visa and when they denied him entry. David Eby doesn't know. None of us do. So why are we coming to defense of this guy? We could just say, like, we don't have enough knowledge to form an opinion on this, but they're just saying because the Americans did this, they automatically have to be wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm seeing here some stats that in Toronto specifically, the Somali Canadian community, it makes up less than 1% of the city's population, but they make up a large percentage of and have disproportionately high rates of gun and gang violence.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of tells a story, and not to paint everybody with the same broad brush, but I mean, that's what the stats are showing. And yet, meanwhile, we also have the government taking to Parliament to make June, what was it? What did they call it? Somali Heritage Month. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. For like 1%.
Before we move ahead on this, I was just poking my face into Ezra's X account. And from what I understand, Omar Artan, that's the referee in question here, we do know more about this guy, at least a little bit. We still don't know everything that the Americans know. But he once said, Jews drink Arab blood, and I love Hamas. And that those terror ties, allegedly, are to Al-Shabaab, which is like Al-Qaeda in Somalia. Yeah, this is him. This is, by the way, this is the Republic of Somaliland, which is broke away from the failed state of Somalia, and actually it almost immediately formed a functioning country. So this is him saying that the Jews target Muslims and Arabs and suck their blood. This is the referee that David Eby said is gold. And the terror ties were to Al-Shabaab. So that's Al-Qaeda in Somalia. And I should let you know that maybe 10 years ago, 15, 12 years ago, there was a terror threat on West Edmonton Mall by Al-Shabaab. So it's not like this is some distant problem of Al-Shabaab. It has already targeted Canada with terror threats. So yeah, good for the Americans, and shame, shame, shame on Olivia Chow and David Eby. How embarrassing for them.
Yeah, and just remember Nick Shirley, that United States journalist, he was exposing all those Somali daycares and childcare centers for fraud and misrepresentation. So I don't know if there seems to be kind of a pattern developing here, and maybe we shouldn't just be like, oh, this is so heartbreaking and how dare the United States protect their borders. We're just going to not.
Why don't they want Al-Shabaab supporting anti-Semites refereeing FIFA games? Why don't they want that? Let's go to Yvonne Baker, Liberal MP, introducing a private member's bill that would declare the July of every year in Canada Somali Heritage Month.
Mr. Baker, seconded by Mr. Hussein, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Establish Somali Heritage Month. The motion is deemed adopted. The honourable member for Etobicoke Centre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce a bill entitled An Act Respecting Somali Heritage Month. If passed, the bill would declare July of every year Somali Heritage Month across Canada. I'd like to thank the member for York South-West and Etobicoke for co-sponsoring this bill with me, and I hope members on all sides of the chamber will support this bill. Canada is home to many Canadians of Somali heritage. They have left and continue to leave an important mark
1%.
on our country and communities across the country, and they have touched our economic, political, social, and political life. Somali Heritage Month would give us an opportunity to celebrate that heritage, the role that Canada has played in supporting Somali Canadians, and to celebrate their contributions to Canada. Every July, it would give Somali Canadians another reason to celebrate their Canadian pride and another reason to say, Somalia Hanolato. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Baker, seconded by Mr. Hussein, moves that the bill be now read a first time and be printed.
Okay. I'm really leering a lot here
Yeah.
from what they had to say. Like, look, these months, they mean very little, but I really am looking forward to the fundamentalist Somali community fighting it out with the Pride Season people over who gets supremacy over the month. And I'm just going to stand back and watch and celebrate the fact that July is traditionally dedicated to the precious blood of Jesus in the Catholic Church. I'm going to do the wholesome thing, and they can fight out whoever is the most important people in Canada.
I don't understand how a Somali Heritage Month would be a time for them to embrace their Canadian.
Just do that.
The country, like the double speak always shocks me, that how this doesn't make any sense.
Like I don't know why they just don't. Okay, look, you want to celebrate your Somali culture? Okay, do it. Why do you need the government to declare you a month? Just go do it.
Mm-hmm. I thought we were in the middle of Pride Season. Also,
that's what I'm saying. Like this is this is LGBTQ plus Lent right now.
Clash of the virtues.
So we've got to live through that.
We have a clash of the virtues happening in Parliament. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I hope everybody loses. How do I make sure everybody loses when they're fighting? Let's go to
we have the climate alarmists.
Oh God, yes. Leah Gazan, who is just a NDP crazy lady. If there's a bad progressive idea out there, Leah does it, and she goes hard. Like, she's the one who wanted to criminalize denialism around residential schools. And like, I don't know if there's all that much denialism, but there's a lot of proofism. Like, show me. While you accuse me of genocide, just show me something. But even asking for that, Leah Gazan says that is racist and genocidal. And now she stands in solidarity with good old Elizabeth May of the Green Party and the Bloc Québécois to further oppose pipeline development. And I should note that she is more Asian than Indigenous, but you wouldn't know that by the her really leaning into that side of her family. Anyways, let's watch.
My name is Leah Gazan, and I'm the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg Centre, and I'm very proud to be here on behalf of my NDP colleagues and our leader, Avi Lewis, today to send a very clear message to this government. We are in a climate emergency. The federal government's backpedaling on environmental protections, fast-tracking assessments is not okay. Particularly at a time where this government has found $25 billion to line the pockets of corporations to incentivize development in this country on Indigenous lands, territories, and resources, often without free, prior, and informed consent, without fulfilling duties for consultation and accommodation. It is abhorrent that at a time when we are entering a fire season once again, that this government, instead of taking action to be proactive in the climate emergency, they are backpedaling. And who is it going to impact the most? Canadians, people from across Canada, from coast to coast, and particularly those that are living around resource extraction projects. I speak specifically to the Mikisew Cree Nation in Treaty 8 territory, who has mentioned, tried to persuade and push the government for a meeting to let them know no more development because rates of cancer are increasing at an unprecedented rate. People are dying because of a failure of the Liberal government to protect the local environment.
All right.
That was a lot.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Every time they bring up the Mikisew Cree First Nation, the Mikisew group of companies is worth millions of dollars. It's an Indigenous-owned company that has made money through partnerships with oil and gas. So it's just real interesting to hear the Mikisew on one side be brought up as like, oh, these people live near oil and gas extraction, and so we must protect them. But it's like, they're the ones doing the oil and gas extraction. Like this is their job. This is how they're making money for their community. So, yeah, I don't know, Leah, learn something and find a new band. Trot out a band that isn't making money in oil and gas. It'd be easier to not call everybody a bunch of hypocrites here. But to say that also that they're fast tracking projects, I wish. Where? We have nothing. Zero. I got an order paper question this morning about how little they've actually even talked about the MOU inside the government.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she stumbles over her words there, but she refers to the fire season. So are we entering the fire season, which just happens every single year?
Right.
Or is there an actual climate emergency, as she would have everyone believe? And I'm really surprised that she didn't end off and say somehow this was harming she was the member of parliament, remember, that got up and said the MMIW2SLGB made up her new...
MMIWG LG 2SL LGBTQQAI, I think is what it was. Anyways, when she said it real fast,
there's two Q's actually.
QQ, queer and questioning.
Yes, and then because the plus is not just all encompassing, I guess.
So that gets the rest of us.
All of these, and then she doubled down on it and called everybody who was laughing about her ridiculous acronym. She called us a bunch of bigots. I mean,
she sounded like a cold diesel pickup starting up when she said that. Like she was like
MMIWG2SLGBTQQIA+. There you go. And if you miss one of those letters or numbers or
Bigot.
symbols, you're a bigot. How
Bigot.
dare you? Which I actually noticed that, by the way, Government of Canada did when they were announcing their ceremonial pride flag raising nonsense happening on Parliament. They they left out the MMIWG. And then I think they left out one of those Qs, maybe the plus. Can we, if we're going to do this, can we all just get on the same page about what acronyms and numbers and symbols we're using?
And they keep changing the acronym. I'm not good with acronyms. I can read words, but these acronyms, my brain slows way down to try to read all the letters because they don't spell anything. So I really struggle with it as someone who reads things off a screen for a living. It's sabotaging me. And every time I turn around, they're changing the order once I get going, and they're adding new letters all the time.
Right. Just when I think I have it memorized so that I can properly report on it and not be called a bigot. There's another Q and there's another plus or there's a minus. Maybe there's going to be an asterisk next time or an exclamation mark because we're really excited. So I don't know. I'm just excited to be here. Maybe I just need endless exclamation points on my name. So let's
clapping hands. I'm holding out for clapping hands.
Raise the roof.
The clapping hands emoji, the prayer emoji. It needs more emojis. That's what I think about that acronym.
There you go. Next addition to the acronym is just an endless emoji. And that's kind of how I respond often, is we have an emoji of Trudeau crying, and I like to use that one.
Laughing, crying emoji is usually what I just respond to these people. Speaking of laughing, crying, this is President Trump saying that he's not looking to renew USMCA with us as the termination date looms in, I don't know, 20 days. This is bad, really bad. It's almost like they shouldn't have been fighting with President Trump over petty BS for all these times. Let's watch this. This is terrible for the Canadian economy and really bad for Ontario. Really, really bad.
President, July 1st is coming fast. How confident are you to renew the USMCA, and what more do you expect from Canada?
Well, I'm not looking to renew it. I don't, I made the deal, and the primary reason I made the deal is that NAFTA was the worst trade deal I've ever seen. Yeah. And I made it better, but I had the right to terminate. And, with NAFTA, we didn't have the right to terminate. I had to get these senators to approve that deal. That was a tough thing, congressman too. NAFTA had no termination. So, I've never said this before, but I'll tell you what my thinking was. NAFTA was a disaster for our country. The worst trade deal ever made, by far. They had typos in, okay? And they were supposed to correct them. And they never corrected them when they were signed. They knew there were typos. And there's a process for that. You state your claim and, you get a change. They had typos on percentages. Or maybe somebody wrote, and that was for years. They never ran, they had horrible, all against us. So it probably wasn't typos. NAFTA was the worst trade deal we ever had. USMCA did one thing that I loved. After 6 years, it comes up for renewal. I don't know that I'm going to renew it because, to be honest with you, the United States does much better. Hey, we don't need anything that Canada has. We don't need anything that Mexico has, but they need everything that we have. And they have to treat us better. With Mexico and Canada, we have trade deficits. We should have surpluses with them. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything that they have. So the primary thing that I got, it was a much better deal than NAFTA. Much, much better.
This is bad news for Canada.
This is terrible.
Bad news.
I don't know.
Thanks, Doug Ford.
Yeah, thanks, Doug Ford. Maybe run another Ronald Reagan ad.
Yeah.
This guy holds our economy in the palm of his hand, whether we like it or not. That's just how it is. That's the size of their economy, 10 times larger than ours. We're the only G7 nation that has tumbled into a recession. And we have not tried to repair the relationship. We've been unnecessarily confrontational. And in fact, really mean to the people who have decided to take another path. Danielle Smith decided to take another path with the Americans, take a different tone and approach. This is why Alberta only got a 10% tariff and everybody else got hammered. And yet still, Trump said what he was going to do. He said what he was going to do. He doesn't care. And he doesn't have to care about us, by the way. He's supposed to care about the American people. I just wish our leaders cared about us the same way Donald Trump cares about defending and protecting the Americans. But this is really bad, really bad. And, you know, Jamil Javani, remember Jamil Javani went to Washington.
Wonderful. Speech.
He was, and it still remains, friends with the vice president. The Liberals, if they were ever concerned about fixing the relationship, they would have said, oh my goodness, we've got a guy sitting in Parliament who has a great relationship with the vice president. Let's deploy him. Even if he's on the other side, it's the right thing to do by Canadians. We've got to swallow our pride. We've got to work together. We've got to figure a way out of this. They didn't do that. In fact, they attacked Jamil for going, called him un-Canadian for going. And now look at the mess we're in.
Yeah. Thanks, Elbows Up and Mark Carney, for your new world order and cozying up to the Communist Party of China. That's what we're getting out of all of this. I just want to get to our cringe because I do have an interview lined up in 10 minutes.
Let's do it.
Where did it go? It's Olivia Chow. Oh, maybe this was the clip I was thinking of earlier when I was just kind of staring blankly, waiting for it to show up. Here's Olivia Chow giving her condolences, but actually saying something completely different.
There are no words that can ease the pain of the family, the loved ones, and the colleagues across the service. They are very much in our thoughts as they face this profound loss. I happen to know the mom very well for 20 plus years.
No.
One
Can
more
we just
time.
play
I just
that?
hear one more time.
Of the family, the loved ones, and the colleagues across the service. They are very much in our thoughts as they face this profound loss. I happen to know the mom.
Okay, I shouldn't be laughing. This is a very somber moment, but Olivia, come on. Come on.
Was this actually Ben Bankus in like a really good disguise?
Is this Ben Bankus? Did Ben do this? Like, this is exactly a Ben Bankus skit.
Okay, well, they're in your thoughts.
She could have said prayers. If she said prayers, like a normal person, she could have avoided this speech flub, I'll call it, struggle as someone with English as a second language. If she had just said prayers like a normal person, this wouldn't have happened, but they can't say prayers because they have to be, I don't know, diverse. Right.
Yeah. Secularism. All right. Well, there you have Olivia Chow with her usual
with her farts.
Daily dose of craziness. I can't wait to see what she's wearing or what she's up to at the FIFA World Cup. We'll see how the next few days in Toronto goes, I guess. It looks absolutely horrible the morning of a cop is shot dead after security threats were raised several months ago, following shootings at the U.S. consulate. I mean, not a really great look on Canada, and especially not in Toronto as they host the World Cup. So we'll see what happens. But thanks everybody for joining us. All of the people who gave us Rumble rants or super chats or maybe super thanks after the show. Everybody who made sure that the stream is possible, and you can find all the links and find us here to tune in. We'll be back same time and place tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So come back then. And until then, stay sane and question everything.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms.
Many of our men and women
They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, Heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history, save heritage, save firearms. Visit nfa.ca.